Hi people, and welcome to my program again, and it's great speaking to all of you guys. I do have one or two announcements to make on this show, and that is to keep watching because we've actually got the chief exec of a leading UK bank appearing on the program very, very soon. So do bear that in mind, people. I'm really happy to have been able to make that announcement. So on to our show today, and today we actually have Andrew Pearson in the studio, and he's a business coach, author and program director for the MSc Entrepreneurship program based at Magna Carta College right down in Oxford, and has come all this way just to part with some business knowledge because he is a business coach. And I've also got in the studio with me, and I'm actually going to hold this up to show to you guys, is how to build a business that works without you. So these are the kind of like books that he writes in his, well, not in his spare time, but during his time. And the one that I particularly like is how a business can be successful in a hostile environment. And these books you can actually download for free from his website. So people, I think, you know, log on to his website, and let's introduce him first before we start logging onto his website. So let's welcome Andrew Pearson to the studio. Welcome, Andrew.
Hello, thank you. Nice to be here.
That is really great because you're a business coach, you know, you're an author,
Yes.
you're doing loads of wonderful things in the community at large, especially for the business community. And let's just talk about some of the work that you do, especially at Magna Carta College. What is your role in?
Well, Shaghofta, I work at Magna Carta for maybe 2 or 3 days a month, largely in entrepreneurship, teaching students entrepreneurship, also other related subjects like marketing. But other than that, I'm sort of hard at it. Consulting and coaching businesses that we work with.
So, you're an author, you've written these books, how a business can be successful in a hostile environment,
Yes.
and especially, to grow your business when markets are not. Would you like to expand on this? What's all that about?
Well, I suppose there are two things really. The first was that I remember someone saying a long time ago that it'd be useful to write stuff like this and to share it with my clients and prospects as a means of promoting my business. I think also I felt that I had something to share, something which I sort of feel that business schools don't necessarily teach, subjects which are more practical in terms of just how do you develop a business idea or a business model, or how do you run a business? What are the best ways to run a business that one might want to see grow and prosper in later years? So there was something to share, something to help me promote my business.
You know what, people, we've really been struggling on this program to bring business support agencies on here. I don't know what the reason is, but they're all really shying away from the camera, and I've been turned down by a fair few. And today we've got Andrew Pearson, who's a business coach, teaches the MSc Entrepreneurship program at Magna Carta College in Oxford. And the reason we have him in the studios is actually to part with some business knowledge, because although we've had a lot of chief execs, we've had a lot of chairmen, we've had everybody talking about their business, but what we've not had is some direct support, because that is really not what's available in the UK anymore. I mean, it used to be at one time, not that it was worth much in the first place. But, we've got Andrew in the studios, and one of the things that I'd really like to know about is that he also works in the non-Asian business community. And, from all the research that we've done, our Asian business models are sometimes very different to the mainstream ones. And for all of you out there who keep writing to me and keep asking me, especially, from Pakistan and other countries around the world, Dubai, for instance, and you want to know, UK investment opportunities, then I think Andrew is the person that you've all been looking for, because he would really be able to advise you how to market your product right here in the UK. So you guys need to get your pens and paper out, and start making some notes, and do reach out to Andrew, because he'll be able to answer all of those questions that you've been putting to me. Now, Andrew, in terms of your experiences, but right now, we're right in the middle of a recession. A lot of people are struggling, and a lot of business owners and managers are completely demoralized. So what is your message to them today?
That's a really good question. Shaghofta, obviously it's not easy, but I think there are certain issues that we've all got to address. I mean, I run my own business, and I've done this for several years, and I'm also hit hard by the current environment. But I think there are certain rules that we've got to abide by, and I think one that comes to mind immediately is taking a long-term view. You know, we've got to not just accept the good times when they're with us, but also take a view on, you know, survival and going forward, and sensing that we're going to come out of this. And that really means finding and driving forward initiatives that would keep us going. And I mean by that, developing strong relationships with our customers, finding new customers, finding means to respond very quickly to difficulties, and not, I feel, ignoring the subject of innovation, managing innovation to find new ways of doing business, but also at the same time of managing cost. And also, I think, looking at ourselves as managers. How well are we managing people within our businesses, if we do have people to manage, and how well are we managing our own time? Are we, for example, dwelling too much on the practice of the business and what we can specialize in doing in the business, and to what extent are we actually thinking about the future? Because it's going to be different, and I think we should be thinking about, possibly now, thinking about new business models, new ways of doing business, new ways of offering value to our customers.
One of the things that myself and Andrew were talking about, 5 minutes before we were about to appear in this program, is actually the big main Asian grocery stores that we see, that are now starting to develop. And I honestly feel we've got the exact same model that happened like quite a fair few years ago with the supermarkets and the corner shops. Once the big 7 supermarkets came in, all the surrounding corner shops went out of business. And I feel over the next 10, 15 to 20 years, when our own Asian grocery stores start becoming bigger and better at what they do, I think the small businesses around them will, be like the corner shop model, where they're actually going to be in sync. You're not going to have a corner shop anymore. You're not going to have your small little business operating next to the large grocery stores that are happening at the moment. I think once these grocery stores get their act together, just like the supermarkets did, I think those surrounding them are going to be in a lot of trouble, and I think that's the way the future's going. And that's why we have Andrew, like I said, in this program today, because we're actually going to talk through what you need to be looking out for and what the models, theoretically speaking, there might be theoretical models at the moment, but you can actually make use of them practically. So, it's not about just talking about theories and strategies and saying, oh yes, that's a fantastic idea. These are practical things that just structure your thought process. If you act in a structured manner, you will find that you can reap the benefits a lot quicker, because when you're thinking things a little bit is happening in this part of the brain, something's happening in the other side of the brain, and then, nothing's actually coming together. It's a bit like a shopping list. You write your shopping list out in terms of what you want to achieve for the business, and then you actually take out, practical steps of how you're going to do about that. And one of the things that follows from that is something called entrepreneurial management. I hope I said that correctly. It's a big mouth load, isn't it? So what is entrepreneurial management all about, Andrew?
Well, if I may say, it's a really good question. I would say that entrepreneurial management is really about change. A good entrepreneur, a person with an entrepreneurial spirit, will want to see change for the better, different ways of doing things. And in order to, if you like, manage change, an entrepreneur will seek opportunities. I think we dwell too much on the problems that we have, but the real issue is to seek opportunities to offer our customers more value. And I think the third strand in answering that question, Shaghofta, is really the issue of management. Managing oneself, but also potentially managing an organization, managing a structure. And that requires a fair degree of acumen. And whether I would suggest we're looking at non-Asian or Asian businesses, I would say those issues remain relevant to both types of business. There are extremely effective and solid and successful entrepreneurs in the Asian business community as there are in the non-Asian business community. And I think those sorts of issues, those 3 points of change, opportunity and management are fundamental. Management, because if we see an opportunity, we must manage it. We must go forward with that opportunity and strive for the change that we look for and want to deliver to our
But you
customers.
know, right now, Andrew, you know, businesses around us, some of our, you know, household names are collapsing as we speak, you know, right from startups to new businesses to, you know, like I said, household names are struggling and they're falling around us. So what is your message to all of those businesses? What are the key issues that they should be focusing on right now? And I know we've talked about, you know, change and innovation, but how do they actually practically take that forward? What is it that they need to do right now, now that they're listening and tuning into this program?
Well, I think those businesses that are struggling, I think would have to attend to the issues that I started with. Maintaining relationships with customers, with their core business, of fighting it through, of pressing on, but at the same time looking to manage cost, to be more productive, to manage the advantages that they have also as well. And by that I mean the knowledge that they have, the relationships they have, the creativity that if they haven't got, they need to develop, the relationships with people, and not just customers, but other networks, such as the media, such as suppliers and so forth. Maybe there are cooperative issues to manage here in terms of sourcing in bulk larger volumes of raw material, for example. But I think there needs to be a will to keep on going, to look at customers, but also I think sort of want to stress the idea of looking at additional opportunities. For example, developing new lines, extending the range possibly, or adding complementary products. We've looked at, if you like, those 5 issues I think you mentioned earlier, Shaghofta, before we started, of looking for other avenues of income, and those might be related to the core business.
I understand you've worked in a lot of different countries around Europe, right down to China, Poland. What did you do there? What was your work?
Largely what we're talking about now, of trying to enable entrepreneurs in different sectors to think about how they could develop their businesses. And remember, I think one attribute of these people, the successful people, was that they wanted to see change. They saw opportunities. And through trial and error, very often they secured a position of some success.
I mean, I also know that Andrew, at the age of 25, set up his first business and within 6 years had a turnover of around 11 million. So, you know, Andrew, I must ask you, what was that business all about? What did you do?
Well, we were importing and exporting industrial marine equipment. And the job really was not to handle stock so much, but to enable our principles, which varied from flotation equipment and on-jetty equipment to meet up with, to enable them to sell their products through the right channels, through consultants, and ultimately through to the end user, the contractor and the port authority. Our job was to market those products and sell them into those businesses.
One of your books is about marketing tools that business schools don't teach you about. So would you like to talk about the marketing tools that businesses don't tell you anything about?
Yes, yes. I remember several years ago being told by a friend who said, "Andy, you are thinking too much in business school or corporate speak, and I knew immediately what he meant. I was using the language of models and theories that you're taught at business school, which are essentially irrelevant to entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, largely, those good ones, I would say, have ideas. They see opportunities. They see a distinct group of customers for which they, in turn, are able to supply a proposition of value. The question then is, how do you market into that group of customers? And so the language of, if you like, back end and front end marketing, of marketing through a pipeline, investing in your customers, seeking referrals, and so forth, were or was the language of, if you like, non-academic speak. Thinking very hard about your customers, how to reach them with small budgets.
So what would you say to people when they have their, their small businesses and they like say, well, everybody's our customer. We don't mind, who comes and who buys from us because, we're here for everybody. So then how would they get to grips with the marketing, tools that you're talking about?
I would say with great difficulty. The one thing about understanding your customers or being able to target a particular customer group is that you can then focus your resources, your scarce resources, on those customers.
But is it really important to target that very small group of people? Isn't it better just to keep your doors wide open to 100% of the country and say everybody's welcome? Why are we focusing and targeting on a small group of people? Surely, anybody and everybody must be better. No?
The first point is, I think, Shaghofta, is that let's say we must target. And I would go one step further, and I'd say that if we can target our ideal customer, we would expect that our ideal customer group to pay us for the product and the value that we offer. If we open up our doors to all and sundry, we might find all sorts of problems and grumblers and so forth to address. We don't want that. We need to focus on those customers that will pay us what we're worth, what the value is that we're worth. I haven't said that very well, but this is our focus. Those people that appreciate us, if we can target our niches, our markets, will, if they're satisfied and if we understand our customers properly, if we can generate loyalty within our ideal customer group, will refer us. And so another group of customers, will, a B category, if the ideal customer group, our targeted group, is our A category of customer, then we'll attract some Bs. What we don't want to do is to waste our time with people that will grumble about our prices, that will try to flatten us with demands for price decreases and so forth. We must understand the needs of our preferred group of customers.
Wow.
This is the essence, these two angles, the customer and a proposition of value, are the linchpins in an ideal business model. There are two others.
I hope everybody's making notes, because I know I'm definitely learning loads, from this today. Now, the problem that we have, and there is a problem, is that there's not enough people like you, Andrew, around, and there's not enough business coaches. And especially right now, when any business advice is not available for free. So the local business support agencies, which weren't really doing a good job in the first place, they're now actually charged to give that same business advice, which wasn't worth anything, for free, and now they're actually charging money to actually give you that so-called business advice. Why has it turned out like this, Andrew? I can't even imagine.
Wow, I struggle to think, but I would say that the economic environment has had an impact. I suppose also the change of government as well. But I think the issue is that, I mean, even as a self-employed person that would naturally look towards these bodies, if you like, I've never found them to be that helpful. And I would say...
I'm going to have to stop you right there, Andrew, because we're heading straight for a break.
All right.
It's getting really interesting, as it always does. So, you know, we do manage our breaks quite nicely. So please do come, join me after the break, where we'll be giving you some great business advice for free. And this is going to be really valuable, really practical, that can actually use in your every day-to-day business. So catch me after the break, people. Hi people, and welcome back after the break. And what we were talking about today is actually about some business coaching from Andrew Pearson, who's the program director for the MSc Entrepreneurship program for the Magna Carta College in Oxford. And one of the things we're talking about today, as well as many other things, is departing with some really crucial business advice, because we're actually struggling to get business support agencies on this program. And one of the things that all of our international viewership will really be interested in, and the kind of questions that you're always writing to me about, is how to invest in the UK and what kind of products to import and export and try to build some trade relations. Well, the one thing you need to do is to get hold of Andrew. You can do that through my Facebook or his Facebook, but that's the way to go through it. And I'm sure he'll be able to offer you loads of support and advice, because we've now finally got somebody who's willing to come into the studio and talk to us about this. So we were just like talking about all these issues just before the break. So let's go back to our conversation, Andrew, and if you could just talk about what we were saying.
Well, I think the question was, it concerned the availability of free support from government agents and so forth, and we were saying that they had largely dried up, or if they hadn't, they were now expecting to charge their would-be clients for advice. And this has obviously caused some frustration and disappointment in both Asian and non-Asian communities. But I mean, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I sort of feel that we must concentrate on opportunities. There are many businesses out there that have never touched a drop of government money. These companies, and my brother's company in particular, has fought its own way through outside investment to a position of some leadership in its own market. And I would suggest that rather than dwell upon the absence of support from the government, the issue really is to attend to some of the issues that we've been talking about, which is opportunity. How do we survive? What do we do to retain the business, the valuable business that we've got now, and push forward?
What I'd like to ask you about, Andrew, is one of the questions that I get asked quite a lot about, and that's the business plan. Because a lot of people see the business plan as an unnecessary burden. They really don't want to do it. And when they eventually do get around to it, it's written in a language that's actually alien to most of the country. So what do they do, and how do they get themselves through this business plan?
I think the starting point is, what do you want the business plan to do? I've been looking at the brochures that have been shown to me of many Asian businesses that have succeeded in a major way. I would suspect that none of those businesses have got to the positions that they're in now without a business plan. Whether it's to shape their business, whether it's to seek investment support from outside agencies or whatever, but these businesses will have a business plan. And all that plan does is to articulate what the business is all about, what its goals are, and essentially how the business will achieve those goals in a nutshell. And then you've got a whole stack of numbers, which people call financial accounts. They are vital. They will change probably within 3 weeks of the commencement of the project or the business, but nonetheless, it's vital to actually to be able to have a business plan, to be able to convince bank managers or other forms of investor and staff that you mean business, that the business that is being that's intended is not here today and gone tomorrow, but it convinces people that this is a sustainable exercise.
You know, when people out there find out what my job is or what I do, the first thing they want to know is, what business shall I start up? So do you have any recommendations for them? Because I tell everybody to watch the program, because I ask every single guest that appears on this program is that very question. And it seems to be the million-dollar question: what business shall I invest? But
invest in?
Invest in.
I think the starting point is a good idea. In other words, we go back to those points. That does this idea actually bring a semblance of change and a benefit to customers? And I think that's the starting point. I suppose there are sectors that are moving forward more quickly than others. I mean, green is one area. But I would suggest that people across the boundaries, across different sectors or within existing sectors, will find opportunities.
We have lots of ordinary people watching today, Andrew,
Yes.
and they want something in terms of multiple income streams. They're sat at home, they're thinking, you know, our job, you know, we're going to be made redundant, or the contract's coming to an end, and we need something to run, you know, in allegiance with, you know, our family commitments or the other family commitments that we have on top of our original commitments, because, you know, we're Asian people, we tend to, you know, stay with families.
Yes.
So is there anything that you can recommend to our viewers who are sat at home thinking, what shall I do? Is there any profitable business that they can even run from home other than eBay? Do they actually have any options?
I think so. I feel that it's always possible to consider ways and means to bring new value to customers. Take the Indian girl that I mentioned that was a student that I taught. Here was a girl, maybe 25, that had an idea to provide Indian food made by an Indian student that relished the idea of consuming a traditional Indian product at lunchtime or as a takeaway in the evening, to students that were faced with maybe going to the local Tesco's or Kentucky Fried Chicken or something like that. But here was an idea that this girl is still thinking about, and still seriously contemplating taking forward. So I think, for me, other than trying to find work, employment and secondary forms of income, here is an example of inventiveness, if you like, that I think is open to us all. Certainly some people are more inventive than others, but I think that's the starting point.
We also have a very large international students who are based in the UK. And when they come over, what they tend to do is once they finish their studies, they either go back to their homeland and they seek better jobs and opportunities, you know, back there. But for some of them, and some of them have been writing to me, and what they're saying is that they're actually seeing business opportunities right here in the UK.
Yes.
What they want to know is, how do they go about investing in a country where their legal status is still doesn't qualify for them to invest? What would you say they should do?
I can't argue. I'm not sure that I fully understand the issues of working here post degree. But I am aware of some students that have managed to gain visas because they are actively employed in business, whether it's their own business or someone else's business. I can think of a number of people that are refurbishing Apple Macs, for example, and selling them on. And this particular individual I'm thinking of, again, I think he's from India or Pakistan, I'm sure it's India, but he talks of staying here, of developing this business and adding other forms of service, software design and so forth. But again, here is a person that's inventive, that's determined, and has seen an opportunity. And I think this really characterizes, for me, if you like, Asian inventiveness.
Thank you so much, Andrew. You know, we're always running short on time. It's never enough time to talk about, you know, all the business opportunities and the questions that I have on this program. So one thing I would like you guys to bear in mind is, if you need any kind of business support, do get in touch with Andrew after this program, either through my Facebook, because he is on my Facebook, or through his, and do get all the business advice that you need for free. And you can definitely download some of the material that I've shown, how to run a successful business in hostile environments. There's got a whole load of information that you can download for free. So you definitely don't need to pay anybody to do that much, because the word that we like to use here a lot more often than we do use is the word free business advice and valuable business advice. So I hope you guys have really enjoyed this. But on a final note, Andrew, what would you like to say to everybody watching you today? What message would you like to give them?
I would like to say that I'm well aware of the difficulties of trading in this environment, but go on, press on, fight your way forward, don't give up. Unless you have to, there are ways and means to secure additional incomes to your business. But don't give up. There may be opportunities that you haven't thought of. Uncover them, discover them, and work towards them.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you everybody for watching. And like I said, you know, going back to the announcement at the start of this program, we will be welcoming the chief exec of a leading bank in the UK on this program in just a matter of a few weeks. So do stay tuned in, do keep watching, and I'll be making a few more announcements as well. So this time next week, see you then.